Hey everybody, we're back with a brand new Cabral HouseCall, our second of the weekend. If you want to follow along with today's questions, head on over to stephencabral.com/3089. Yesterday's show, hopefully you didn't miss that. That was episode 3088. Do feel free to tune into that show right after today's. But without further ado, let's open the massive Ask Cabral document that my team puts together. They do such a great job each and every week. Like to give them a little shout out, everybody behind the scenes. And we're opening it right now. It looks like Kelly is up first. So Kelly says, hi, Dr. Cabral. It's Kelly, an IHP, level 2, and lover of all things health, wealth, and wellness. I would love to hear your point of view, evidence-based, of course, on, maybe don't say the product name, totally up to your discretion, Enagic K8 water ionization system. Kelly, I read the question exactly how you write it in, so I'm always happy to help. The only reason I wouldn't say the name of a product is if I was going to speak negatively about it, because I don't like to disparage anybody, any company that I assume is just trying to do good work, right? Okay. So the Enagic K8 water system, which creates more hydrogen-rich water, to my understanding that it's more bioavailable to the body, all acting almost like an adaptogenic, being a small enough molecule to penetrate the cell walls and even pass through the blood-brain barrier. I'm always curious and been incorporated with my clients' wellness plans for years. As water, like food, movement, and all layers in the de-stress protocol are important, I do, however, want to practice with integrity, and I am chasing your wisdom. Would you consider it for a product review in the future? If so, reach out. All right, Kelly. Thanks for writing in. Now, the interesting thing is, since you wrote in about 11 weeks ago, remember, we're about 10 to 12 weeks always behind answering your questions just because of the queue built up with all of the different questions. I have a whole page dedicated to hydrogen water. I've been looking into it now for over a year. On the page, I said I put in somewhere around 80 to 100 hours. I wasn't counting, but like that's literally how many hours I put in before I made a recommendation, because like you, Kelly, I like to make sure that the recommendations I give are solid. There's over 30 scientific studies that I quoted on hydrogen water. It's not like it's not new, right? What's water? H2O, hydrogen and oxygen, right? So what the Kangen K8 does is it increases the hydrogen levels of the water. I dismissed the K8 for decades, literally. And the reason I did is because I was only focused on the pH of the water. And I didn't say like, oh, you need to buy this alkaline water machine. What I didn't even bother to look into, truthfully, like if I'm being honest, was the increase in hydrogen. Just because when you always hear all the negative things, people are like, oh, it's just an alkaline water. No, it's actually like, that's just, you can set the water for whatever alkalinity you like, which is actually pretty incredible to do that. But I was interested for the hydrogen. Now, a colleague of mine got me back into it. I said, all right, like, let me put it to the test. So borrow the machine, it's super easy to hook up. I literally just hook it up to my reverse osmosis machine. And all I started to do was test it. I tested the ORP levels. I have my own ORP monitor. I've had it for many, many years from when I was in clinical practice. And it does what it says it's going to do. And if you watch my videos at stephencabral.com/hydrogen-water, I think you'd be blown away like I was. Literally, I was blown away. It's definitely one of my top 10 purchases, that's for sure. So stephencabral.com/hydrogen-water. It's not inexpensive, but I was using hydrogen water tablets for probably a year anyway, just to get some in. But it's, when you look at the amount of hydrogen water tablets you would need to use, it's no way that it's more cost effective. It's not. They have payment plans. They have all sorts of different things. So it's not for everybody because it's not inexpensive. It's expensive. But if you can afford it, I think it's fantastic. My whole family uses it. My daughters use it. We think it's fantastic. All right. And by the way, I have all the research and how it works there, but it actually works because it works as an amazing antidote. So an antioxidant to oxidative stress in the body. So that's why it helps with so many different things. All right. Holly's up next. Holly says, hi, Dr. C. I have alopecia areata. I'm a 40-year-old woman and have tried all of your hair loss protocols, including massively reducing stressors. Alas, nothing is working. I've resisted the steroid creams the doctor prescribed so far, but running out of options. My question is about your thoughts on microneedling and also thoughts on hyaluronic acid serum. Any other recommendations? Thanks, Holly. Okay, so please keep in mind, alopecia areata. If you read my book, The Rain Barrel Effect, which I hope that you do, it's free at stephencabral.com/free book. You literally just pay for shipping. I pay the $7 it takes to print that book. You just pay for shipping. So here's the thing. Alopecia areata is, in my practice, almost always linked to gut issues plus higher levels of stress. Almost always. So if you're using StephenCabral.com/hair-loss, it's a little bit different because you need to look at gut function plus elevated levels of cortisol, imbalanced immunity. So we need to look at it more of like an autoimmune issue than just DHT conversion, right? Or something like that, or thyroid. So if you haven't run the stress mood and metabolism test, that's just the tip of the iceberg for cortisol, but I'm recommending that you run the big five. If you can't do the big five, try to run the vitamin tox test, which is our starter kit, plus the stress mood and metabolism. We need a whole plan. We need a plan and not just to treat it topically. Now, Holly, I'm not saying microneedling can't work. I'm also not saying that any of the topicals at StephenCabral.com/hair-loss can't work. Remember, hair-loss is just a big research page on everything hair loss. But when it comes to autoimmune hair loss, we need to find out why the autoimmune issues, right? Like that's a really big thing. And I can't stress that enough. So when it comes to this, work with an IHP level 2 at integrativehealthpractitioner.org. Click on practitioners or our team over at EqualLife. Run the big five if possible. If not, run the vitamin tox test, which is our starter kit, plus the stress mood and metabolism. Then you get a coaching call, you get an entire plan. But I'm not against microneedling, and it can work to regrow hair. No doubt about that. It can stimulate stem cells right underneath the skin, and hyaluronic acid can also be helpful. Taking advanced collagen support can be helpful. There are all sorts of things that can be helpful. I just want to get to the root cause. That's the truth. All right. Thank you, Holly, for writing in. Appreciate you. Oliver's up next. Hi, Stephen. Are there benefits or negatives to listening to podcast audiobooks at a fast speed? I listen to most podcasts at 2x speed, which is great to consume lots of info quickly, but my mom thinks it's bad for you, so wondered if there's any effect on the brain. So it's a great question. It really is. Both of you can be right. And you can actually look at this. So if you're tracking your HRV, which you can do, like in real time, or even heart rate to a lesser degree, if your HRV drops, or your heart rate increases, listening to something at 2x speed is putting your body into a more stressed state, and most likely your brain wave activity level is not at a heightened good response, it's a heightened negative response, all right? So you can just test that, meaning like, is it kind of like, are you hyper vigilant and a little stressed when listening to 2x? That's a problem. But if you're not, and you're in a relaxed state, and you're just absorbing the material, there could be no issue. It's also a little bit of who are you listening to at 2x? So years ago, I used to speak incredibly fast. I've tried to slow it down a bit. I've tried to, normalize that a bit. So, because we're talking about serious, topics a lot of the time. So I just, try to pull it back, keep it under control. I still speak fast. I like to think fast, speak fast, and just, just keep on moving. Like that's the goal. That's it. So that's the thing. If you're relaxed, you can listen to 2x. I listen at 2x. I have no issues with that at all. And I very much enjoy it. Now, some people I can't listen at 2x. Some people I want to listen even faster, right? Because it's at a slower pace. So it really depends on, are you feeling stressed when you listen to it? Do you have that the drop in HRV or the increase in heart rate? If so, yeah, it is putting your body into too heightened of a state. All right, and then your mom's right. Okay, Tessie's up next. Tessie says, hi, doctor. I have Addison's disease and notice my blood work shows really high levels of hematocrit and hemoglobin on my blood work. Is this normally associated with having adrenal issues or could it be something else? Anyways, I want to lower it naturally. Okay, well, it's really interesting because it's not that people with Addison's disease show up higher with hematocrit and hemoglobin. It's that the issues of having you have high levels of hematocrit and hemoglobin could be one of the reasons why you can get Addison's disease. So let's kind of break this down to pieces. Addison's disease is the inability to produce cortisol. All right, so you don't produce enough cortisol. I had that myself. I had primary Addison's disease. They say you can't overcome it. I overcame it. You can overcome it too. There's no doubt about that. And the only time you can is when there's specific hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal-based issues, and there's specific tumor and something needs to be removed. It's a different story. It's like having your thyroid removed. Well, you're not going to produce thyroid hormone if you don't have a thyroid. So That's just a different story, but we're not talking about that in most cases. All right. So now let's talk about hemoglobin, and hematocrit. Well, both of those are basically indicators for oxygenation, and high or low, they are signs that your body is missing something. This is why I talk so much about everything is fixable. You need to find out what your deficiencies are and what your toxicities are. Deficiencies, you don't have enough. Toxicities, you have too much. Okay. So hematocrit, hemoglobin, here's what you could be deficient in. Vitamin B9, which is folate, vitamin B12, vitamin B6, vitamin C, copper, and iron. Those are the main ones. There are other cofactors that I could give you, magnesium, zinc, calcium, but not as important as the ones that I just named. So how do you overcome this? Literally by taking the daily nutritional support on a daily basis or the daily activated multi. And it will overcome all of those. And then you'll retest your blood labs in another 6 to 8 weeks after starting your 2 scoops of daily nutritional support or your daily activated multi. If you're still borderline, like maybe you're in good range now, but very borderline, okay, add another activated B complex at lunch and one at dinner and start using the immunity protocol, which is 1 balanced zinc, vitamin C, and vitamin D on a daily basis. Honestly, it's that easy to fix these things. Conventional medicine we'll just be like, well, we don't know what's wrong. We don't understand this. No, it's like, it's very straightforward in functional medicine what that means. Now, if it's iron, different story. And you need to run, this is important. You need to run what is called the total iron binding capacity, TIBC, iron saturation, and ferritin or transferritin. You want to look at your levels. Probably ferritin is the most important out of all of them, and that's the one your PCP probably won't run. So have them run that. Make sure they run ferritin. Okay, if that's low, then this can be an iron issue, and we need to get those iron levels up. In women that are premenopausal, they can often be low in iron, leading to anemia. You can have B12 anemia, you can have copper anemia. So this is important. So that's how we go about fixing that. So hopefully that's helpful. Again, I have to give you my disclaimer now. Can't provide medical advice, medical treatment plans, medical cures, medical diagnosis. That is for the all-powerful conventional medicine to do. Humble doctors of naturopathy like myself would never. All right, Josh is up next. Josh says, hi, Dr. Cabral. Thank you for all you do to educate us. I take a number of vitamins and minerals daily, many of which are taken at the same time. I'm curious if there are any vitamins and minerals that should not be taken together, and if there are any that are best taken on an empty stomach. I understand fat soluble should be taken with healthy fats, but aside from that, I'm unaware of any other considerations. Thank you. Great question. I've done multiple podcasts on this, full podcasts. It's funny. Someone asked this, it was probably yesterday, and we looked it up. And I know it was in the 400s. I don't know, don't quote me on this, but you can just look up, you can literally search best time to take supplements at stephencabral.com/podcast. It will come up. I think it was episode 459, but I have no idea if that's true. We just pulled it up yesterday, so I'm just trying to go off recollection, but I know there's more shows than that. So please write in at cabralsupportgroup.com, cabralsupportgroup.com. That's a private Facebook group. It's completely free. The amazing Michelle will find those shows for you. Like, that's the truth. So, because there are considerations. Typically, we take magnesium and zinc on their own, but not on their own, but like at dinner, a little closer to bed. You can take magnesium any time of the day. Yes, you can take zinc any time of the day. There's no doubt about it, but we use those at bedtime. Probiotics, you can use them with a meal or on an empty stomach. Enzymes, those can be taken with the meal. If they're digestive enzymes, if they're proteolytic enzymes, you take them on an empty stomach. Things like the CBO protocol, we were trying to get them into the intestines without food to kill candida, bacteria, etc. Those are taken on an empty stomach. As you said, vitamin A, vitamin K, vitamin D, vitamin E, those are all taken with meals. But you're taking your daily nutritional support or your daily activated multi, typically with a meal. DNS is a meal, right? It's 15 grams of protein. You're going to typically make it as part of a smoothie. So there's not too many contraindications. Like, there's not a lot you need to be worried about. Honestly, there isn't, but there are kind of best practices. And I'd love to get you a whole podcast on that. So I'll give you a couple right now. Vitamin D should be taken the first half of the day. So the way that it works in naturopathy is, when would you get vitamin D? Well, during the day, earlier in the day, sunlight, right? Oh, so okay. Yeah, it makes sense. And now we see if you take vitamin D later at night, it throws off melatonin. Oh, that makes sense, because why would you get sunlight right before bed. Okay, when you take zinc, it's anabolic, so we want to do that before bed. Magnesium helps lower that sympathetic nervous system. Okay, we want to do that like at dinner time before bed. So that's how we use all of these products in nature with the natural rhythms of the body, and that's always going to be the best way to do it. So hopefully that's helpful, Josh. Check out 459, stick it in my head, and then definitely ask at cabralsupportgroup.com. We'll get you all those shows. All right, thanks everybody. Have an amazing rest of your weekend, especially if you're tuning in on the weekend here. And of course, I'll be back tomorrow with a brand new Mindset and Motivation Monday. Don't miss it. Take care. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.